The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed on the Nova Society are those of our guests and panel members and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of any institution any member of the Nova Society is associated with. The material information presented on the Nova Society is for general information purposes only. Reproduction or dissemination for the purpose other than education is prohibited without express written consent of the Nova Society. We'd like to welcome everybody back to the Nova Society, and today, just as our session was ending, Scott wanted to bring us two names that he felt were important for not only our panel, but also our listeners to keep a very close eye on as they are making headlines in the news as it relates to the 2025 project. Their names are Ivan Raiklin and Tom Holman. And Scott is going to be telling us a little bit about these two gentlemen and exactly what their plans are for the United States. Let's listen in.
Very good.
So I know I'm the one who wants to leave, but there's two names that have come up in my radar recently, and I want to bring these two names up. And I haven't discussed this with you, and you probably don't know who these two people are. But we were talking about Project 2025, and we were talking about the Agenda 47, these plans that Trump has going forward. You know, the picture is beginning to get a little bit more clear, and these two names that I'm going to bring up now are amongst the more scary people that we're going to get to know over the next few months. So I thought we might as well use a little time in the podcast to talk about these two men, okay? Mm-hmm. The first one is named Ivan Raiklin, okay? It is a failed candidate for the Republican Party. He tried to run in the primary in Virginia. Was rejected. He was too late. He didn't get on the ballot. Like a lot of MAGA people, he seemed to have this grudge, filed a lawsuit, lost the lawsuit. You know, the Virginia Supreme Court ruled that he had not made it onto the ballot, and that's all there is to it. So he's out there, he's angry, and he's calling himself now the chief retribution officer.
Yes, Secretary
of the second Trump administration. And he's the Secretary of Retribution, and he's got a list that he's literally making a list of politicians, journalists, even get this, police officers and sheriffs who are rejecting his plan to enlist right-wing sheriffs to carry out mass arrests across the country as soon as Trump becomes president, and that the arrests would be carried out by constitutional sheriffs. This is Raiklin's words. Constitutional sheriffs in an anti-government group called the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. These sheriffs would then go deputize 75,000 veterans that Raiklin claims were dismissed from the military simply for refusing to comply with COVID-19 vaccine mandates, forming an army of rogue, angry, bitter men hell-bent on revenge, and that these men will help him carry out these mass arrests, and they would go after the enemies of the President of the United States. The second name that I want to bring up is a former official, director of the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement under Donald Trump, named Tom Holman, who spoke recently on a panel on immigration at the National Conservatism Conference, NatCon 4, last week. And he said, if Trump comes back in January, I'll be on his heels coming back, and I will run the biggest deportation force this country has ever seen. They ain't seen shit yet. Wait until 2025. And he is the guy who is planning to enlist police officers across the country in a massive immigration roundup of some 20 million people who will then be placed in concentration camps and eventually deported after Trump, as per Trump's plan. He talks about, he's one of the authors of Project 2025 and talks about how the federal government could be overhauled in line with Trump's authoritarian desires and go about pulling off these incredible schemes to round up undesirables, put them in concentration camps, and then deport them. So Tom Holman, Ivan Raiklin, these are the two names that you need to keep an eye on. I'm being as objective as I possibly can. These are their words, not mine. And these are their plans, not something I'm making up. And I think it's important that the audience of this podcast learn more about this for themselves. And I'm sure we'll be talking about it in the weeks and months to follow. And Brooke, you mentioned Trump's denial of Project 2025. But Trump said something during the debate that I think people need to keep in mind. He said it before, but he said it during the debate, and I think it's really important. He said, first you have to get elected. And you can't get elected if you say all kinds of crazy stuff, right? And he knows that Project 2025, now that people are actually reading it, or at least reading about it, is a big negative for his campaign. So he's going to lie and say he has nothing to do with it until he gets elected, and then he will turn around and, as he has so many times, reveal himself to be lying. He lied when he said he had no business dealings in Russia in 2016. It turns out that he did have business dealings in Russia. He lied about his tax returns. He's lied about everything his whole life. He's going to lie to us and tell us what people like Tom from Topeka are going to grab onto and say, see, he's not going to do Project 2025. He says he's not going to do it. He has nothing to do with it. But I believe, Tom, and a lot of other people that I know who are Republicans and want Trump to return to office and like the idea of rounding up 20 million people and deporting them, and like the idea of imposing 100% tariffs and putting together a protectionist agenda that the likes of which nobody has ever seen before, that would devastate the economy, cause incredible amounts of inflation, and make rich people richer and poor people poorer. That Trump could say, I'm going to kill your sister when I get elected, and you would still vote for him. But he's also going to say, I would never kill your sister. People say that I said that, and it's ridiculous to think that I would do that. And you'll still believe him. So one way or another, my objectivity here doesn't matter so much as yours does, your subjectivity rather, and that you'll buy anything he says. But he's putting these people in place. They're already taking control. They're already sending out the letters to the sheriffs. They're already recruiting people for these roles. I went on Project 2025's website, and there's a recruitment page where I could have filed for a job there if I had wanted to. I wouldn't expect to get it because I'm not willing to say I have 100% loyalty to Donald Trump and not the Constitution of the United States. But that's one of the things that people have to say in order to get those jobs. And there are plenty of people who would do it. Sorry.
No,
I apologize. No. I need a weekend bad.
All right. So first of all, old Ivan is a compatriot of General Michael Flynn. And I'm not going to be as nice as Scott was. This guy and Holman are just simply batshit crazy. I'm not going to take the high road on this one. My only question is, I wonder if we're on the list to be taken to the camps. I really do hope so, because again, this is insanity. It's there. But for some reason, people simply do not want to acknowledge it. They want to ignore it and deny it and come up with whatever excuses they can for it. And it is truly amazing. It is amazing that we have devolved as a society. And if you think that America first doesn't mean America only, and if you think that America first or America only is going to elevate your position in society in the United States, think again. Because after they get done with the people they originally go after, they're going to eventually come after you. So that's all I have to say on that one.
Oh, yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good place to end.
Hey, enjoy yourself
Yes.
in
Have a great time. What's up?
Thank you very much.
All right, guys.
See you guys next week.
Yeah, that's fine.
We'll see you next week. Maybe we'll come up with some
See you
more fun. And we'll talk about the UK. We'll talk about the UK.
Yeah.
We'll pretend we care.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Yep.
Take
All
care.
right. See you next week. Have fun.
So that's all the time we have for today's episode. The Nova Society is a production of the Phoenix Research Institute. We'd like to thank our sponsors for this episode. BH Conflict Resolution Services, a full-service dispute resolution firm offering expert and cost-effective mediation services to couples, groups, and businesses. BHCRS can be reached at www.bhcrs.com. We'd also like to thank our podcast partners, Buzzsprout, who hosts the Nova Society, Audacity, our editing partners, and Podkite, who does all of our analytics. iHeartRadio, where people get their music and podcasts, Apple iTunes, the largest source for music and podcasts on the internet, Spotify, the most popular source for the Nova Society. The Nova Society is available on all of these and other quality platforms. We'd like to thank all of our listeners. Without you, the Nova Society would not be possible. If you have a comment, question, or would like to be a guest on the Nova Society, we can be reached at nova.society.podcast@gmail.com. Always remember, the power of society is knowledge. So for Dr. Scott Gershworth, Dr. Priscilla Hobbs, Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, and all of us here at the Nova Society, I'm Dr. Mark Bound. Be well, and we hope to see you again next time.